to page setup, I think. Well, there's one place option. No, it's print selection only. So in that case, it will only print whatever you have selected in the page, and it will just print it out the same way it is rendered on the screen, or should be pretty close to it.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about the practice question? It is not a real question. Don't turn in anything, but you might want to try out. Because this is one of the questions where to answer the question, you just have an editor box under that, and you just type your answer in the editor box. Yep.
I did have a question on post one. Your simplification. You've got x minus 1 is greater than or equal to 0.
Okay, just hold on a sec. Let me bring up that page again. It's slow. Oh, actually, it's already up. I didn't know it. Okay, so you're talking about post 1, which is pre 2.
You've got the x1, substituted the inverse in there for x1. X minus 1, I'm sorry, is greater than or equal to 0. That simplifies to x is greater than 0.
Right.
But algebraically, if you were to solve that, it should be x is greater than or equal to 1. So
yes, correct. But, okay, that's true when you don't know that x is an integer. In other words, if I just tell you that x is a number, like a real number, then what you said is absolutely true. There's no way I can get to this part here. On the other hand, if I know that x is an integer, which means x can be 0, 1, 2, can be minus 1, minus 2, negative 1, negative 2, then to say that x is greater than or equal to 1 is the same as to say that x is greater than 0. Are you following?
Yeah, kind of.
Because if x is an integer, the fact that x is greater than or equal to 1 means the minimum value it can be is 1. Right? Which also means that I can just say that x is greater than 0, because what is the smallest integer that is greater than 0? 1. It's 1, exactly. So it puts the same restrictions on x as the other statement that you just talked about.
So is it just preferable to see a 0 rather than see an x is greater than or equal to 1?
It depends on the purpose. If I know that x is an integer already, I want to make use of the fact that I already know x is an integer, and I apologize that I did not mention that in the text in the assignment, because I should have mentioned that as well in the assignment so that you guys can use the same assumption and help you derive the same result. But this is also, a good point to bring out, because when you're writing programs, a lot of times there are two ways to express exactly the same thing, knowing that you're dealing with only integers. Okay, so if you're dealing with integers, saying that x is greater than or equal to 1 is the same as saying x is greater than 0. So when you write the program that somebody else has written, you have to remember that these two are actually equivalent when x is an integer. Any other questions regarding pre and post condition things? No? You guys don't feel particularly more ready to be a programmer, knowing the pre and post condition stuff? Most people would say that, so you are definitely not alone. So don't worry about it. We are moving away from all this pre and post condition business at this point. It will still be in exam 1. Okay, so regarding exam, next week we will have a what I would call a mock exam or practice exam, which means I will give you guys questions that reflect the same type of question you will see in the exam. I will probably give you about the same numbers too. So in the exam, if I will give you like 5 questions in the exam, I will give you maybe 4, maybe 5 questions in the practice exam. They will give you the scope. Okay, in other words, I will give you some tracing examples. I will give you some pre and post condition stuff that you guys do not really like, but I have to put it into the exam. But we'll talk about it in the class. Okay, you guys will have a chance to work on it as if it is a real exam, and I encourage everybody to actually do it. just so that you know the mechanisms to do it. Okay, download the file, work on it, re-upload again. But remember, this time you're not re-uploading as an assignment. You're re-uploading as the answer of a question in an exam. So the interface will look exactly the same, but you want to play with all the different options, and blow up things that can be blown up before you actually do it in the exam. So you want to be familiar with the interface before the exam.
Will this be something we're doing in class?
I will check with the lab and see if they have, like 1.5 sections ready for us, so that we can actually take the test, in the lab. The nice thing about doing it in the lab is it's going to be open web, which means when you're working on your answers, you can look up anything on the web. You can look at my notes. You can use Google. You can, access anything other than interactive help from a person. So chatting, it would not be allowed. Emailing, actively emailing would not be allowed. I would not even check email to check older email. If you think one of your older email messages will be useful, just put it on your thumb drive and bring it with you, because I don't want people to be checking email during the exam. Okay. Go ahead.
But you can go back to the class notes.
Yes, the class notes will all be there. I will not restrict any access to any material we have up to this point. If you wish to listen to YouTube again, you can bring your headphone, plug it to the computer, and just watch the YouTube clip during the exam. I don't think that's going to be very helpful, personally. If anything, I think someone will end up falling asleep, in the process, which is not good. Yep.
You answered the question.
Okay, very good.
So this is Tuesday or Thursday?
Next Tuesday or Thursday will only be the practice exam, and 1 week after the practice exam is the actual exam. So you have to make sure that you won't miss the actual exam. Any questions at this point about the pre and post condition stuff? No? Okay. Now remember what I said, like from day one. No, well, not quite day one, but day one of the discussion of this, pre and post condition stuff. The pre and post condition thing is not necessarily going to be 100% applicable to your programming. But what you have learned, or the skill sets that you need in order to deal with the pre and post condition stuff, like simplifying Boolean expressions, analyzing the Boolean expressions and stuff like that, that will definitely be helpful when you're writing your program or debugging your programs. Okay, so just remember that, when you go out and actually become programmers or software engineers, and you don't have a chance to do the pre and post conditions again, just remember, that part is just an excuse to get you guys to get exposed to Boolean expressions, the derivations, the logical way of thinking about your programs, and so on. Okay. So with that out of the way, and most of you will be glad to know that we won't see it again until the final exam, because the final exam is comprehensive. So we will see this again in the final exam. For the time being, we'll move on and talk about top-down design, which is something that's really easy to understand because we do it on a daily basis already. Yes?
Have you already talked about mods?
Mods? Nope.
Yeah.
No, this particular one we'll talk about mods.
Okay.
Okay. So let's talk about top-down design. But instead of just reading my notes, which is really boring, because I wrote it, I know what it is, and it is boring. Yep. Go ahead. It wasn't? Yeah. I'll show you top-down design in a slightly different way.
You're not using visual-based.
Now we'll use Google Maps. Okay, here's Google Maps. The default page of Google Maps. Where's ARC?
Sacramento. Sacramento on the left.
Yeah, but I don't see any label saying ARC.
Well, we know
College
that
Oak
it's
Drive.
within the greater Sacramento area. So we see the label Sacramento
Well, someone
in the state of California.
It's in the state of California. You can see California, you can even see Sacramento. But where's ARC on the map? I want to see ARC on the map. I mean, it has to be there somewhere.
Well, then we can scroll in by
Right.
selecting.
But why is it not here? Why can't I see ARC from here?
It's too small.
It's too small. Well, someone would say because ARC is too cheap. These projectors don't have enough resolution, right? I mean, you can argue, and say, with infinite resolution, we should be able to label ARC, somewhere around here or so. One little pixel or fraction of a pixel is going to be ARC. And with infinite resolution, yes, we can actually use a microfiche size font and actually display American River College. Would it be helpful to you?
Yeah.
Exactly, because if you can see ARC at a map of this level, you'll be seeing lots and lots of detail of every other town, every other college, every other street, and so this whole thing would just be like completely, massively covered with little tiny little dots, text lines, and whatnot, and you would not be able to see the states and stuff like that. What does that have anything to do with top-down design?
Well,
What is the restriction here? Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted.
Within each state, it's like a folder,
Mhm.
and that is your high-level design, and then you refine it with the definition within each state,
But-
which is subfolder.
But why do we need that? The question is, why do we need it? Assume.
Because we have to have a limited number of items to select from, so that we can find it
Ah.
quickly.
Aha. So the restriction actually has nothing to do with the projector itself. It has to do with us as people. Okay? Are you guys getting the idea? The restriction is not because of the projector. I can say, theoretically speaking, let's say this projector has infinite resolution. But how many things can you keep track at any particular time, especially when you try to glance through the map to find a single thing? Where's Jackson?
Mississippi or
Mississippi.
California?
Huh? Do we see Jackson here on the map?
No, you don't even see New York City on that map.
I thought Jacksonville is in Florida, but I thought Jackson is the state capital of Mississippi. I could be
Which
wrong.
Jackson
Where's the state capital of Mississippi, by the way?
would be in Mississippi?
It's not even shown here. Oh, that is,
Too small.
yep, Jackson. But I have to zoom in once to get to it. Okay, well that tells you something about Mississippi, doesn't it?
Well, it doesn't even show New York City, so.
Mississippi is very important because
And New
Tom
York
Sawyer,
City's
the adventures of Tom Sawyer happened in Mississippi. Okay, so it's actually quite important.
Yeah.
And from the perspective of literature, it is important. Okay, so are we getting the idea through? Am I getting the idea through that the limitation has nothing to do with the machine, the projector, or whether Google stores enough information on their servers? It has to do with how much stuff can we process at any particular time. Okay, this is already a lot of stuff. Okay, if I want you guys to locate, let's pick something that is not so obvious. I can't really pick anything that's not obvious because it only displays stuff that is obvious. Yep.
It's interesting that they display a lot more stuff in Mexico than they do in the United States.
It's just a higher density.
Uh,
Okay, so the first thing we want to know is top-down design is necessary not because the machine cannot handle a lot of details at the same time. It is because the programmer, the developer, us, cannot handle a lot of details at the same time. Okay, so that's the first thing you have to remember. It's not a machine limitation. It is a programmer limitation that makes it necessary. Okay, well, once that is known, we can move on and